Pixie Dust and Pumpkin Spice podcast, where every day is Halloween and every night is a magical adventure. Welcome back, fellow spooks and specters, to another episode of the Pixie Dust and Pumpkin Spice podcast. I'm Nick, your host, here to guide you through the enchanted and eerie world of Halloween. Tonight's episode is packed with everything you need to make this Halloween season absolutely spooktacular. So grab your cauldron, light those jack-o'-lanterns, and let's dive in. Let's start our Halloween journey by diving into the ancient roots of one of the most beloved traditions, trick-or-treating. While it might seem like a modern-day invention, this custom has deep historical roots that trace back to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, celebrated over 2,000 years ago. Samhain marked the end of the harvest season and the beginning of winter, a time when the boundary between the living and the dead was believed to be at its thinnest. The Celts believed that on the night of Samhain, the spirits of the dead could return to Earth. To ward off these wandering spirits, people would leave offerings of food and drink outside their homes. Fast forward to the Middle Ages, and we see the rise of souling. On All Hallows' Eve, the poor would go door to door offering prayers for the dead in exchange for food, particularly soul cakes. This practice, known as souling, is considered a precursor to modern trick-or-treating. As the tradition evolved and spread across Europe, children began dressing in costumes and performing simple tricks or songs in exchange for treats, a practice known as mumming or guising. When European immigrants brought these customs to America, they blended with other traditions, eventually giving rise to the trick-or-treating we know today. So next time you see little ghouls and goblins roaming the streets, remember that they're participating in a tradition that's thousands of years old. Let's now dive into the origins of one of the most exciting aspects of Halloween, wearing costumes. Dressing up in spooky, silly, or creative costumes is one of the most beloved traditions today. But did you know that this practice has its root in ancient times? The tradition of wearing costumes dates back to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. As we mentioned earlier, the Celts believed that on the night of October 31st, the boundary between the living and the dead became blurred, and spirits would roam the earth. To avoid being recognized or harmed by these wandering spirits, people would wear disguises. The idea was to either blend in with the supernatural beings or scare them off with their eerie attire. In medieval Europe, this tradition evolved into something called mumming or guising, where people would dress up and go door to door performing simple plays or reciting verses in exchange for food or drink. It was a way to celebrate the holiday while also ensuring protection from malevolent spirits. By the time these customs reached America in the 19th century, particularly through Irish and Scottish immigrants, Halloween costumes became a central part of the celebration. However, the focus shifted slightly from warding off spirits to more of a communal celebration. Over time, costumes evolved from simple homemade disguises to the wide variety of characters we see today. From monsters and ghosts to pop culture icons, costumes now serve as a fun and creative outlet for self-expression, but they still carry that ancient element of transformation and connection to the supernatural. So next time you're deciding what to dress up as for Halloween, remember you're continuing a tradition that's been around for centuries. Now let's talk about one of my favorite parts about Halloween. And it's super creative, and I love crafts and parties and all that. I just find it's all an expression of your own creativity, and you can go as wild as you want with it. So let's talk about tombstones. If you want to create a truly haunting Halloween display, nothing sets a scene like a creepy graveyard filled with DIY tombstones. Whether you're aiming for eerie realism or a playful vibe, crafting your own tombstones can be a fun and rewarding project. Let's go over the materials. For the tombstone, the most common materials are styrofoam and wood. Styrofoam is lightweight and easy to carve, making it an excellent choice for beginners. You can find pre-cut styrofoam tombstones at most craft stores, but customizing them yourself adds a personal touch. You'll need a utility knife, a Dremel, gray and black latex paint, and a few basic tools like a ruler and a pencil. Here's a side note, you don't have to go crazy with the paint. Typically, you can find something on the Oops shelf at Home Depot or Lowe's for pretty cheap. All right, now we're going to design our tombstones. To design them, we're just going to start by sketching out the design on the styrofoam, or you can look up some inspiration photos and print them out and kind of copy them at your will. If you prefer, you can print pieces of your design like words and then trace them onto the foam with light pressure. Traditional shapes like rounded or arched tops work well, but don't hesitate to get creative. Once you've cut out the shape, use the utility knife to carve in your epitaph. Think of something clever or spooky. Classic phrases like RIP or Here Lies are always good, but a touch of dark humor can make your tombstone truly stand out. For added durability to my tombstones, I like to use 2 or 3 layers of foam, depending on the project. Sand the layers down, then apply glidden gripper to hold them together securely. I've tried other construction adhesives, but I find that those will let my tombstones pull apart within the next year or 2, so I found that glidden gripper really binds those together securely. I will carve 2 channels into the foam to insert PVC pipes, allowing me to drive wooden dowels or rebar into the ground to secure the tombstones on top of that. I keep these the same distance apart for each tombstone, though they're not necessarily the same depth in the tombstone, to make placement a little bit easier after driving the dowels or rebar into the ground. For repurposing store-bought tombstones, I sand the entire piece to help the paint and decorations adhere better, and add at least 1 layer of foam behind it for added sturdiness. Many people have different methods for blending the 2 layers together. However, I don't recommend using wood filler or silicone since they both tend to shrink. A couple of my favorite builders for tips are Van Oaks, whose videos I often really have playing in the background while I work, as well as Erie Acres Cemetery, Scary Lady videos, and Wicked Makers on YouTube. While I haven't found the perfect solution for myself yet, they all offer great ideas to make it work. After carving and your layers are secure and dry, it's time to paint. For added protection, you can use Drylock masonry sealer on the foam before painting, or you can tint your Drylock with your latex paint and use that as your base coat to make it waterproof. Avoid spray paint, as aerosol chemicals will melt the foam. Although you could use the spray paint to help add some dimension to your project, but be careful to not spray too much at one time. Start with a base coat of gray, and then add black paint to create the illusion of age and weathering. A great technique to achieve this is dry brushing. Dip your brush gently in paint, wipe most of it off, and then gently brush over the surface. This will highlight the carved areas in depth. Another technique is kind of spraying the paint onto your tombstone with the brush, kind of like flicking it off your brush, and then spraying it down with some water very lightly, and it'll create drips, which looks really cool also. Once your tombstones are painted and complete, you could consider adding some additional elements to your tombstones, such as moss, fake leaves, or strategically placed candles that are kind of melted. They can all create an even more atmospheric scene. Incorporate elements like spider webs or eerie lighting, or even small skulls to elevate the spooky effect in your graveyard. With your tombstones in place and your yard decorated, your spooky graveyard will be ready to welcome trick-or-treaters, or scare them away. Now let's talk pumpkins. While real pumpkins are lovely, they don't last forever. If you're looking for a decoration you can enjoy year after year, foam pumpkins are the way to go. They're lightweight, easy to carve, and can be just as stunning as the real thing with the right techniques. To get started, first you'll need a foam pumpkin, readily available at most craft stores along with some carving tools. A hot knife is ideal for cutting through the foam, but a serrated knife or small saw can also do the job. For more intricate designs, consider using a Dremel tool and an X-Acto knife. I typically skip the hot knife these days due to the fumes it puts off, and go for the Dremel and the X-Acto knife, and just vacuum up my mess later. Before diving into carving, sketch out your design on the pumpkin with a pencil. While traditional jack-o'-lantern faces are always fun, foam pumpkins can give you the freedom to get creative. Think outside the box with patterns like spider webs, haunted houses, or even characters from your favorite Halloween movies. You can trace a pattern with an X-Acto knife from a site like my favorite, Zombie Pumpkins, and then use a chalk marker to define those lines, or even flour settles very well into those lines you just created. When you're getting ready to carve, take your time. The foam can be tricky to work with as it may be thicker in some areas, especially for detailed designs. Start with the larger cuts in the center, then move on to the finer details. I find that if I take my Dremel and I cut out the big chunks within the lines, and then take my X-Acto knife around the actual line, it comes out much cleaner and much nicer. Take your time. Even though it is a foam pumpkin, you can still break it or accidentally cut through a part you were not intending to. I do the latter a lot. If you're using a hot knife, be sure to work in a well-ventilated area as heating the foam can produce fumes. Once your pumpkin is carved, it's time to add some personality. You can paint the exterior for a unique look or use metallic or glow-in-the-dark paints for added effects. You can also enhance your design by corpsing it with simple household items like cotton balls and glue. You can extend the stem, modify facial features, or create depth by raising and depressing different areas. Now, lighting is super important for your creation. Don't forget to include the light source. Battery-operated LED candles are perfect and much safer than real ones. But for a fancier touch, you could even add LED strips connected to a power source. If you want certain areas to glow a different color, try some colored cellophane in that area, or like my friend Allie did with her Sam pumpkin, she just took regular saran wrap and colored it orange and stuck it in place. You can do this with markers or paint. Get creative. With your foam pumpkin carved and lit, you'll have a stunning reusable decoration that is sure to impress. You can hang them from trees or on the ceiling, place them on your mantle, or even display them on your porch. Let's talk about hosting a killer Halloween party, spooky snacks, and ghoulish games. When it comes to hosting a Halloween party, the food is just as important as the decor. Of course, you can always take a quick trip to Costco for some ready-to-bake party snacks like mozzarella sticks, pot stickers, mini pizzas, and chicken wings. Pop them in the oven and then you're all set. But if you really want to lean into the spooky spirit, you can get creative with your Halloween menu. At my parties, we like to serve up a mix of both classics and creepy themed dishes. Some of our go-to Halloween snacks include bat wings, which are black marinated chicken wings injected with some red sauce, giving them a sinister appearance, and then we do spicy cocktail meatballs. We also whip up deviled eyeballs, mummy pizzas, and even skull-shaped burritos and enchiladas. For dessert, we make Jack Skellington mousse cups, graveyard pudding cups, cake pops, and Halloween hand pies. One dish that always gets rave reviews is the cream cheese and sausage dip, served with homemade Halloween-shaped tortilla chips. Trust me, there are so many fun foods you can turn creepy with just a little creativity. And don't forget the Jell-O shots. We love making caramel apple or red Jell-O shots in syringes for the adults, while the kids get their own fun Jell-O cups or spooky shapes. And if you want to step it up a notch, you can even serve drinks like sangria or margaritas in blood bags. It's a huge hit and adds an extra eerie vibe to the evening. Now on to the games. No Halloween party is complete without some ghoulish entertainment. You could set up a creepy ring toss or cornhole game where the board is painted like a zombie, giving it that Halloween edge. One of my favorite kid-friendly games is the donut line. You tie donuts on strings, and the kids have to eat them without using their hands. By the end, their faces are covered in frosting or powder, and they're laughing uncontrollably. It's much more hygienic than the old-fashioned bobbing for apples, too. Another favorite is a Halloween-themed scavenger hunt. Hide spooky items around your party space and give your guests a list of what to find. Add some riddles or clues for an extra challenge. Most of my parties are geared towards adults, but we always manage to throw in some games that everyone can enjoy, like glow-in-the-dark beer pong. Under the black lights, we use glow-in-the-dark balls and cups for an extra spooky effect. And yes, before anyone says anything, even when the kids are around, they can get in on the action too. We just swap out the booze for water in their cups. Coming from New England, I've found that kids can hang with the party crowd for a bit before they tucker out. It's all about balancing the spooky fun with safety so that everyone, adults and kids alike, can have a good time. There's no reason you can't have a Halloween party that works for all ages. Simple fun and great for getting everyone involved. And don't forget the photo ops. Set up a spooky backdrop with props like fake tombstones, pumpkins, and cobwebs. Guests will love taking pictures, and it's a great way to capture the memories and keep the Halloween spirit alive long after the night is over. Let's talk music and atmosphere for your Halloween party. The key to an unforgettable Halloween party is all about creating the perfect atmosphere, and nothing sets the tone better than a killer playlist and some spooky decor. Let's start with the music. A great Halloween playlist should be a mix of classic hits and eerie soundtracks that keep the vibe both fun and just a little bit creepy. You can't go wrong with timeless Halloween classics like Michael Jackson's Thriller, Bobby Boris Pickett's Monster Mash, and Ray Parker Jr.'s Ghostbusters. For something a little darker, I always throw in rock classics like Alice Cooper's Feed My Frankenstein, Blue Oyster Cult's Don't Fear the Reaper, and the Ramones' Pet Sematary. Songs like Time Warp from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, Somebody's Watching Me, and AC/DC's Highway to Hell are also crowd favorites. For a more atmospheric touch, you can add some spooky soundtracks from films like The Nightmare Before Christmas or Hocus Pocus. This Is Halloween and Donovan's Season of the Witch are perfect for setting the eerie Halloween vibe. But music is just the start. To really immerse your guests, you'll need the right atmosphere. Start by dimming the lights and using orange and purple string lights or LED candles to give the room a spooky yet festive glow. Fog machines and eerie sound effects like creaking doors, howling wind, and distant thunder will add an extra chilling touch that really makes your space come to life. As for decor, the more themed items, the better. Think hanging bats, cobwebs, and skeletons placed around your space to create that haunted house feel. You can also incorporate interactive elements like a witch's brew punch or candy-filled cauldrons for your guests to snack from. The goal is to create an environment that feels both magical and spine-chilling, where your guests can fully lose themselves in the Halloween spirit. When you get the atmosphere just right, it turns your party into an experience that everyone will remember long after the night is over. If you're gearing up for a night of frights at Halloween Horror Nights, packing smart can make all the difference. Here's what you need to ensure you get the most out of your scare-filled adventure. First and foremost, comfortable shoes are a must. I cannot say this enough. You'll be walking and standing for long periods, so opt for sturdy, comfortable footwear. You might also want to bring some blister prevention products just in case. Next, weather-appropriate clothing is key. Check the weather forecast before you go and dress accordingly. It's also a good idea to bring a light jacket or poncho in case of rain. If the weather is particularly hot or cold, make sure your attire can handle it. Layers are always a good option. Portable chargers are another essential item. You want to keep your phone charged for photos, navigating the park, and keeping up with any updates or changes. A power bank can be a lifesaver on long nights out. If you have an express pass or other ticket extras, keep them handy and easily accessible by using a lanyard. You don't want to waste time fumbling around for them when you're trying to get to the next scare. And lastly, don't forget a small backpack for personal items. Make sure it's not too large or cumbersome, as you'll need to carry it around with you all night. Keep essentials like your wallet, ID, and any medication you might need close at hand. If your Halloween plans include a trip to Disney, you'll want to pack carefully to ensure you have everything you need for a magical and spooky adventure. Here's your packing guide to make the most of your Disney Halloween experience. First, pack your costumes. Disney encourages guests to dress up for Halloween parties, but be sure to check the park's costume guidelines to avoid any issues. Opt for comfortable costumes that allow for movement and can handle the weather. You'll also need practical items like sunscreen and a refillable water bottle. While it's important to enjoy the Halloween festivities, staying hydrated and protected from the sun will make your visit so much more enjoyable. Bringing comfortable walking shoes. Disney parks are large. You'll be on your feet all day. Choose shoes that are both supportive and comfortable for long days of exploring and enjoying the Halloween-themed attractions. Don't forget your park essentials: a phone charger, park tickets and magic bands, and any reservations you've made for dining or special experiences. It's also a good idea to have a small portable umbrella or rain poncho just in case. For your Halloween-specific items, consider packing a themed tote bag or backpack to carry your treats and goodies from the park. And if you're attending a Halloween party, make sure to pack a change of clothes if you plan to switch between costume and casual wear. Traveling during the Halloween season can be both exciting and challenging. Here are some tips to ensure your trip goes smoothly while still allowing you to enjoy all the spooky fun. First, book your accommodations and tickets early. Halloween is a popular time for travel, and the best hotels and events can fill up quickly. Plan ahead to secure the best options for your needs and budget. Be aware of peak travel times and plan your trip around them. Traveling on weekdays or during off-peak hours can help you avoid long lines and crowded areas, making your Halloween experience more enjoyable. Pack smart by bringing along a small bag of essentials that will make your trip more comfortable. Items like hand sanitizer, snacks, and a travel-sized first aid kit can come in handy. Also pack some Halloween-themed items to get you into the spirit, whether it's a fun hat or a pair of spooky socks. It'll add to the excitement. If you're flying, check the airline's policy on Halloween costumes and decorations. Some airlines have specific guidelines about what you can and cannot bring on board, so it's best to be informed before you pack. Finally, keep an eye on weather forecasts and plan accordingly. Fall weather can be unpredictable, so be sure to pack layers and be prepared for any sudden changes in temperature or weather conditions. Now it's time to address some of your questions. I've received a few inquiries about Halloween traditions, travel tips, and more, so let's dive in. Our first listener asks, what's the best way to incorporate Halloween themes into a small apartment? This is a great question. Even if you're short on space, you can create a festive atmosphere with some strategic decor. Consider using wall decals, window clings, and small tabletop decorations. String lights with Halloween colors and small tabletop pumpkins can add a lot of ambiance without taking up too much room. Our next listener wants to know, how do you find the best Halloween events in different cities? Here's the key. Research ahead of time. Look up local event listings, check out social media for community events, and read reviews from other attendees. Websites like Eventbrite or local tourism boards can also be a great resource for finding spooky happenings in the area. Lastly, what's a good Halloween costume idea for a group of friends? Group costumes can be so much fun. Some fun ideas include classic monster squads, characters from popular movie or TV shows, or even a group of themed food like tacos or sushi. Another great group costume idea is to go as famous ensembles like the Spice Girls or the Sanderson sisters from Hocus Pocus. You can even add Billy Butcherson into the mix for an extra spooky touch. Coordinate with your friends to pick a theme that's both fun and manageable, and you'll have a group costume that's sure to turn heads. And that's a wrap for this episode of the Pixie Dust and Pumpkin Spice podcast. I hope you're feeling inspired and ready to make this Halloween the best one yet. From crafting spooky tombstones to packing smart for your Halloween adventures, we've covered everything you need to ensure a magical and frightful season. Don't forget, you can share your thoughts through our social media channels or send us a voice message at pixiedustpumpkinspice@gmail.com. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a review on YouTube or wherever you listen. Your feedback means a lot and really helps the show. As always, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Pixie Dust Pumpkin Spice Podcast for more tips, tricks, and treats. If you've loved today's episode, please share it with your fellow Halloween enthusiasts. Until next time, stay spooky, my friends, and happy haunting. This is Nick, signing off from the Pixie Dust and Pumpkin Spice Podcast. Keep the magic alive, embrace the eerie, and enjoy every haunted moment. Have a frightful and fabulous day, everyone.